Verse 1. In the beginning Yahuah created heaven and earth. Verse 2. The earth was formless and empty, and darkness covered the deep water. The Ruach Yahuah was hovering over the water. Verse 3. Then Yahuah said, "Let there be light." So there was light. Verse 4. Yahuah saw the light was good. So Yahuah separated the light from the darkness. Verse 5. Yahuah named the light day, and the darkness he named night. There was evening, then morning, the first day. Verse 6. Then Yahuah said, "Let there be a horizon in the middle of the water in order to separate the water." Verse 7. So Yahuah made the horizon and separated the water above and below the horizon. And so it was. Verse 8. Yahuah named what was above the horizon sky. There was evening, then morning, a second day. Verse 9. Then Yahuah said, "Let the water under the sky come together in one area, and let the dry land appear." And so it was. Verse 10. Yahuah named the dry land earth. The water which came together he named sea. Yahuah saw that it was good. Verse 11. Then Yahuah said, "Let the earth produce vegetation, plants bearing seeds, each according to its own type, and fruit trees bearing fruit with seeds, each according to its own type." And so it was. Verse 12. The earth produced vegetation, plants bearing seeds, each according to its own type, and trees bearing fruit with seeds, each according to its own type. Yahuah saw that they were good. Verse 13. There was evening, then morning, a third day. Verse 14. Then Yahuah said, "Let there be lights in the sky to separate the day from the night. They will be signs and will mark religious festivals, days and years." Verse 15. They will be lights in the sky to shine on the earth. And so it was. Verse 16. Yahuah made the two bright lights, the larger light to rule the day, and the smaller light to rule the night. He also made the stars. Verse 17. Yahuah put them in the sky to give light to the earth. Verse 18. To dominate the day and the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. Yahuah saw that it was good. Verse 19. There was evening, then morning, a fourth day. Verse 20. Then Yahuah said, "Let the water swarm with swimming creatures, and let birds fly through the sky over the earth." Verse 21. So Yahuah created the large sea creatures, every type of creature that swims around in the water, and every type of flying bird. Yahuah saw that they were good. Verse 22. Yahuah blessed them and said, "Be fertile, increase in number, fill the sea, and let there be many birds on the earth." Verse 23. There was evening, then morning, a fifth day. Verse 24. Then Yahuah said, "Let the earth produce every type of living creature, every type of domestic animal, crawling animal, and wild animal." And so it was. Verse 25. Yahuah made every type of wild animal, every type of domestic animal, and every type of creature that crawls on the ground. Yahuah saw that they were good. Verse 26. Then Yahuah said, "Let us make humans in our image, in our likeness. Let them rule the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, the domestic animals all over the earth, and all the animals that crawl on the earth." Verse 27. So Yahuah created humans in his image. In the image of Yahuah, he created them. He created them male and female. Verse 28. Yahuah blessed them and said, "Be fertile, increase in number, fill the earth, and be its master. Rule the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, and all the animals that crawl on the earth." Verse 29. Yahuah said, "I have given you every plant with seeds on the face of the earth, and every tree that has fruit with seeds. This will be your food." Verse 30. "I have given all green plants as food to every land animal, every bird in the sky, and every animal that crawls on the earth, every living, breathing animal." And so it was. Verse 31. And Yahuah saw everything that he had made, and that it was very good. There was evening, then morning, the sixth day. Verse 1. Heaven and earth and everything in them were finished. Verse 2. By the seventh day, Yahuah had finished the work he had been doing. On the seventh day, he stopped the work he had been doing. Verse 3. Then Yahuah blessed the seventh day and set it apart as holy, because on that day he stopped all his work of creation, the creation of man and woman. Verse 4. This is the account of heaven and earth when they were created, at the time when Yahuah Elohim made earth and heaven. Verse 5. Wild bushes and plants were not on the earth yet because Yahuah Elohim hadn't sent rain on the earth. Also there was no one to farm the land. Verse 6. Instead, underground water would come up from the earth and water the entire surface of the ground. Verse 7. Then Yahuah Elohim formed the man from the dust of the earth and blew the breath of life into his nostrils. The man became a living being. Verse 8. Yahuah Elohim planted a garden in Eden, in the east. That's where he put the man whom he had formed. Verse 9. Yahuah Elohim made all the trees grow out of the ground. These trees were nice to look at, and their fruit was good to eat. The tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil grew in the middle of the garden. Verse 10. A river flowed from Eden to water the garden. Outside the garden, it divided into 4 rivers. Verse 11. The name of the first river is Pishon. This is the one that winds throughout Havilah, where there is gold. Verse 12. The gold of that land is pure. Bdellium and onyx are also found there. Verse 13. The name of the second river is Gihon. This is the one that winds throughout Sudan. Verse 14. The name of the third river is Tigris. This is the one that flows east of Assyria. The fourth river is the Euphrates. Verse 15. Then Yahuah Elohim took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to farm the land and to take care of it. Verse 16. Yahuah Elohim commanded the man. He said, "You are free to eat from any tree in the garden." Verse 17. But you must never eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, because when you eat from it, you will certainly die. Verse 18. Then Yahuah Elohim said, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper who is right for him." Verse 19. Yahuah Elohim had formed all the wild animals and all the birds out of the ground. Then he brought them to the man to see what he would call them. Whatever the man called each creature became its name. Verse 20. So the man named all the domestic animals, all the birds and all the wild animals. Verse 21. But the man found no helper who was right for him. So Yahuah Elohim caused him to fall into a deep sleep. While the man was sleeping, Yahuah Elohim took out one of the man's ribs and closed up the flesh at that place. Verse 22. Then Yahuah Elohim formed a woman from the rib that he had taken from the man. He brought her to the man. Verse 23. The man said, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She will be named woman because she was taken from man." Verse 24. That is why a man will leave his father and mother and will be united with his wife, and they will become one flesh. Verse 25. The man and his wife were both naked, but they weren't ashamed of it. Verse 1. The snake was more clever than all the wild animals Yahuah Elohim had made. He asked the woman, "Did Elohim really say, 'You must never eat the fruit of any tree in the garden'?" Verse 2. The woman answered the snake, "We are allowed to eat the fruit from any tree in the garden except the tree in the middle of the garden." Elohim said, "You must never eat it or touch it. If you do, you will die." Verse 3. "You certainly won't die," the snake told the woman. "Elohim knows that when you eat it, your eyes will be opened. You'll be like Elohim, knowing good and evil." Verse 4. The woman saw that the tree had fruit that was good to eat, nice to look at, and desirable for making someone wise. So she took some of the fruit and ate it. She also gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate it. Verse 5. Then their eyes were opened, and they both realized that they were naked. They sewed fig leaves together and made clothes for themselves. Verse 6. In the cool of the evening, the man and his wife heard Yahuah Elohim walking around in the garden. So They hid from Yahuah Elohim among the trees in the garden. Verse 7. Yahuah Elohim called to the man and asked him, "Where are you?" He answered, "I heard you in the garden. I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." Verse 8. Elohim asked, "Who told you that you were naked? Did you eat fruit from the tree I commanded you not to eat from?" Verse 9. The man answered, "That woman, the one you gave me some fruit from the tree, and I ate it." Verse 10. Then Yahuah Elohim asked the woman, "What have you done?" "The snake deceived me, and I ate," the woman answered. Verse 11. So Yahuah Elohim said to the snake, "Because you have done this, you are cursed more than all the wild or domestic animals. You will crawl on your belly. You will be the lowest of animals as long as you live." Verse 12. "I will make you and the woman hostile toward each other. I will make your descendants and her descendant hostile toward each other. He will crush your head, and you will bruise his heel." Verse 13. He said to the woman, "I will increase your pain and your labor when you give birth to children. Yet you will long for your husband, and he will rule you." Verse 14. Then he said to the man, "You listened to your wife and ate fruit from the tree. Although I commanded you, you must never eat its fruit. The ground is cursed because of you. Through hard work, you will eat food that comes from it every day of your life." Verse 15. "The ground will grow thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat wild plants. By the sweat of your brow, you will produce food to eat until you return to the ground because you were taken from it. You are dust, and you will return to dust." Verse 20. Adam named his wife Eve, life, because she became the mother of every living person. Verse 21. Yahuah Elohim made clothes from animal skins for the man and his wife, and dressed them. Verse 22. Then Yahuah Elohim said, "The man has become like one of us, since he knows good and evil. He must not reach out and take the fruit from the tree of life and eat, then he would live forever." Verse 23. So Yahuah Elohim sent the man out of the Garden of Eden to farm the ground from which the man had been formed. Verse 24. After he sent the man out, Elohim placed angels and a flaming sword that turned in all directions, east of the Garden of Eden. He placed them there to guard the way to the tree of life. Genesis chapter 4, verse 1. Adam made love to his wife Eve. She became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. She said, "I have gotten the man that Yahuah promised." Verse 2. Then she gave birth to another child, Abel, Cain's brother. Abel was a shepherd, and Cain was a farmer. Verse 3. Later Cain brought some crops from the land as an offering to Yahuah. Abel also brought some choice parts of the firstborn animals from his flock. Yahuah approved of Abel and his offering, but he didn't approve of Cain and his offering. So Cain became very angry and was disappointed. Verse 4. Then Yahuah asked Cain, "Why are you angry, and why do you look disappointed? If you do well, won't you be accepted? But if you don't do well, sin is lying outside your door, ready to attack. It wants to control you, but you must master it." Verse 5. Cain talked to his brother Abel. Later, when they were in the fields, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. Verse 6. Yahuah asked Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" "I don't know," he answered. "Am I supposed to take care of my brother?" Verse 7. Yahuah asked, "What have you done? Your brother's blood is crying out to me from the ground. So now you are cursed from the ground, which has received the blood of your brother, whom you killed. When you farm the ground, it will no longer yield its best for you. You will be a fugitive, a wanderer on the earth." Verse 13. But Cain said to Yahuah, "My punishment is more than I can stand. You have forced me off this land today. I have to hide from you and become a fugitive, a wanderer on the earth. Now anyone who finds me will kill me." Verse 15. So Yahuah said to him, "Not so. Anyone who kills Cain will suffer vengeance 7 times over." Yahuah gave Cain a sign so that anyone meeting him would not kill him. Verse 16. Then Cain left Yahuwah's presence and lived in Nod, the land of wandering, east of Eden. Verse 17. Cain made love to his wife. She became pregnant and gave birth to Enoch. Cain was building a city, and he named it Enoch after his son. Verse 18. To Enoch was born Irad. Irad was the father of Mehujael. Mehujael was the father of Methushael, and Methushael was the father of Lamech. Verse 19. Lamech married two women, one named Ada and the other Zillah. Verse 20. Ada gave birth to Jabal. He was the first person to live in tents and have livestock. His brother's name was Jubal. He was the first person to play the harp and the flute. Verse 22. Zillah also had a son, Tubal-Cain, who made bronze and iron tools. Tubal-Cain's sister was Naamah. Verse 23. Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, listen to me, wives of Lamech, hear what I say. I killed a man for bruising me, a young man for wounding me. If Cain is avenged 7 times, then Lamech 77 times. Verse 25. Adam made love to his wife again. She gave birth to a son and named him Seth, because she said, Elohim has given me another child in place of Abel, since Cain killed him. Verse 26. A son was also born to Seth, and he named him Enosh. At that time, people began to worship Yahuah. Genesis chapter 5, verse 1. This is the written account of Adam and his descendants. When Elohim created humans, he made them in the likeness of Elohim. 2. He created them, male and female. He blessed them and called them humans when he created them. Verse 3. When Adam was 130 years old, he became the father of a son in his own likeness, in his own image. He named him Seth. Verse 4. After Adam became the father of Seth, he lived 800 years and had other sons and daughters. Verse 5. Adam lived a total of 930 years. Then he died. Verse 6. When Seth was 105 years old, he became the father of Enosh. Verse 7. After he became the father of Enosh, Seth lived 807 years and had other sons and daughters. Verse 8. Seth lived a total of 912 years. Then he died. Verse 9. When Enosh was 90 years old, he became the father of Canaan. Verse 10. After he became the father of Canaan, Enosh lived 815 years and had other sons and daughters. Verse 11. Enosh lived a total of 905 years. Then he died. Verse 12. When Canaan was 70 years old, he became the father of Mahalalel. Verse 13. After he became the father of Mahalalel, Canaan lived 840 years and had other sons and daughters. Verse 14. Canaan lived a total of 910 years. Then he died. Verse 15. When Mahalalel was 65 years old, he became the father of Jared. Verse 16. After he became the father of Jared, Mahalalel lived 830 years and had other sons and daughters. Verse 17. Mahalalel lived a total of 895 years. Then he died. Verse 18. When Jared was 162 years old, he became the father of Enoch. Verse 19. After he became the father of Enoch, Jared lived 800 years and had other sons and daughters. Verse 20. Jared lived a total of 962 years. Then he died. Verse 21. When Enoch was 65 years old, he became the father of Methuselah. Verse 22. After he became the father of Methuselah, Enoch walked with Elohim for 300 years and had other sons and daughters. Verse 23. Enoch lived a total of 365 years. Verse 24. Enoch walked with Elohim. Then he was gone because Elohim took him. Verse 25. When Methuselah was 187 years old, he became the father of Lamech. Verse 26. After he became the father of Lamech, Methuselah lived 782 years and had other sons and daughters. Verse 27. Methuselah lived a total of 969 years. Then he died. Verse 28. When Lamech was 182 years old, he became the father of a son. Verse 29. He named him Noah, relief, and said, This child will bring us relief from the work and painful labor of our hands, since Yahweh has cursed the ground. Verse 30. After Lamech became the father of Noah, he lived 595 years and had other sons and daughters. Verse 31, Lamech lived a total of 777 years, then he died. Verse 32, when Noah was 500 years old, he became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Genesis chapter 6, verse 1. The number of people increased all over the earth, and daughters were born to them. Verse 2. The sons of Yahuah saw that the daughters of other humans were beautiful, so they married any woman they chose. Verse 3. Then Yahuah said, my spirit will not struggle with humans forever, because they are flesh and blood. They will live 120 years. Verse 4. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, as well as later, when the sons of Yahuah slept with the daughters of other humans, and had children by them. These children were famous long ago. Verse 5. Yahuah saw how evil humans had become on the earth. All day long their deepest thoughts were nothing but evil. Verse 6. Yahuah was sorry that he had made humans on the earth, and he was heartbroken. Verse 7. So Yahuah said, I will wipe off the face of the earth these humans that I created. I will wipe out not only humans but also domestic animals, crawling animals, and birds. I'm sorry that I made them. Verse 8. But Yahuah was pleased with Noah, Noah's family, and the ship. Verse 9. This is the account of Noah and his descendants. Noah had Elohim's approval and was a man of integrity among the people of his time. He walked with Yahuah. Verse 10. He had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Verse 11. The world was corrupt in Elohim's sight and full of violence. Verse 12. Elohim saw the world and how corrupt it was, because all people on earth lived evil lives. Verse 13. Elohim said to Noah, I have decided to put an end to all people because the earth is full of their violence. Now I'm going to destroy them along with the earth. Verse 14. Make yourself a ship of cypress wood. Make rooms in the ship and coat it inside and out with tar. Verse 15. This is how you should build it. The ship is to be 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. Verse 16. Make a roof for the ship and leave an 18-inch high opening at the top. Put a door in the side of the ship. Build the ship with lower, middle, and upper decks. Verse 17. I'm about to send a flood on the earth to destroy all people under the sky. Every living, breathing human, everything on earth will die. Verse 18. But I will make my promise to you. You, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives will go into the ship. Verse 19. Bring 2 of every living creature into the ship to keep them alive with you. They must be male and female. Verse 20. 2 of every type of bird, every type of domestic animal, and every type of creature that crawls on the ground will come to you to be kept alive. Verse 21. Take every kind of food that can be eaten and store it. It will be food for you and the animals. Verse 22. Noah did this. He did everything that Yahuah had commanded him. Genesis chapter 7, verse 1. Yahuah said to Noah, Go into the ship with your whole family, because I have seen that you alone are righteous among the people of today. Verse 2. Take with you 7 pairs of every kind of clean animal, a male and a female of each, and 1 pair of every kind of uncleaner animal, a male and a female. Verse 3. Also, take 7 pairs of every kind of bird, a male and a female of each, to preserve animal life all over the earth after the flood. Verse 4. In 7 days, I will send rain to the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. I will wipe off the face of the earth every living creature that I have made. Verse 5. So Noah did everything that Yahuah commanded him. Verse 6. Noah was 600 years old when the flood came to the earth. Verse 7. Noah, his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives went into the ship to escape the flood waters. Verse 8. Clean and unclean animals, birds, and creatures that crawl on the ground. Verse 9 came to Noah to go into the ship in pairs, a male and female of each, as Elohim had commanded Noah. Verse 10. 7 days later the flood came on the earth. Verse 11. on the 17th day of the second month of the 600th year of Noah's life. All the deep springs burst open. The sky opened. Verse 12, and rain came pouring down on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. Verse 13. On that same day Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, as well as Noah's wife and his 3 daughters-in-law, went into the ship. Verse 14. They had with them every type of wild animal, every type of domestic animal, every type of creature that crawls on the earth, and every type of bird, every creature with wings. Verse 15. A pair of every living, breathing animal came to Noah to go into the ship. Verse 16. A male and a female of every animal went in as Elohim had commanded Noah. Then Yahuah closed the door behind them. Verse 17. The flood continued for 40 days on the earth. The water increased and lifted the ship so that it rose high above the ground. Verse 18. As the water rose and became very deep, the ship floated on top of the water. Verse 19. The water rose very high above the earth. It covered all the high mountains everywhere under the sky. Verse 20. It rose 23 feet above the mountaintops. Verse 21. Every creature that crawls on the earth died, including birds, domestic and wild animals, and everything that swarms over the earth, along with every human. Verse 22. Everything on dry land, every living, breathing creature, died. Verse 23. Every living creature on the face of the earth was wiped out. Humans, domestic animals, crawling creatures, and birds were wiped off the earth. Only Noah and those with him in the ship were left. Verse 24. The floodwaters were on the earth for 150 days. Genesis chapter 8, verse 1. Yahuah remembered Noah and all the wild and domestic animals with him in the ship. So Yahuah made a wind blow over the earth, and the water started to go down. Verse 2. The deep springs and the sky had been shut, and the rain had stopped pouring. 3. The water began to recede from the land. At the end of 150 days, the water had decreased. 4. On the 17th day of the 7th month, the ship came to rest in the mountains of Ararat. 5. The water kept decreasing until the 10th month. On the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains appeared. 6. After 40 more days, Noah opened the window he had made in the ship. 7. And sent out a raven. It kept flying back and forth until the water on the land had dried up. 8. Next, he sent out a dove to see if the water was gone from the surface of the ground. 9. The dove couldn't find a place to land because the water was still all over the earth. So it came back to Noah in the ship. He reached out and brought the dove back into the ship. 10. He waited 7 more days and again sent the dove out of the ship. 11. The dove came to him in the evening, and in its beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf. Then Noah knew that the water was gone from the earth. Verse 12. He waited 7 more days and sent out the dove again, but it never came back to him. 13. By the first day of the first month of Noah's 601st year, the water on the land had dried up. Noah opened the top of the ship, looked out, and saw the surface of the ground. 14. By the 27th day of the second month, the land was dry. 15. Then Yahuah spoke to Noah. Verse 16. Come out of the ship with your wife, your sons, and your sons' wives. 17. Bring out every animal that's with you, birds, domestic animals, and every creature that crawls on the earth. Be fertile, increase in number, and spread over the earth. 18. So Noah came out with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives. 19. Every animal, crawling creature, and bird, everything that moves on the earth, came out of the ship, one kind after another. 20. Noah built an altar to Yahuah. On it, he made a burnt offering of each type of clean animal and clean bird. 21. Yahuah smelled the soothing aroma. Yahuah said to himself, I will never again curse the ground because of humans, even though from birth their hearts are set on nothing but evil. I will never again kill every living creature as I have just done. 22. As long as the earth exists, planting and harvesting, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never stop. Genesis chapter 9 verse 1. Yahuah blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, "Be fertile, increase in number, and fill the earth." 2. All the wild animals and all the birds will fear you and be terrified of you. Every creature that crawls on the ground and all the fish in the sea have been put under your control. 3. Everything that lives and moves will be your food. I gave you green plants as food. I now give you everything else. 4. But you are not to eat meat with blood in it. Blood is life. Verse 5. In addition, I will demand your blood for your life. I will demand it from any animal or from any person. I will demand the life of any person who kills another person. 6. Whoever sheds human blood, by humans his blood will be shed, because in his image Yahuah made humans. 7. Be fertile and increase in number. Spread over the earth and increase. Yahuah's promise, the sign of the rainbow. 8. Yahuah also said to Noah and his sons. 9. I am going to make my promise to you, your descendants, 10, and every living being that is with you, birds, domestic animals, and all the wild animals, all those that came out of the ship, every living thing on earth. 11. I am making my promise to you. Never again will all life be killed by flood waters. Never again will there be a flood that destroys the earth. 12. Yahuah said, this is the sign of the promise I am giving to you and every living being that is with you for generations to come. Verse 13. I will put my rainbow in the clouds to be a sign of my promise to the earth. 14. Whenever I form clouds over the earth, a rainbow will appear in the clouds. 15. Then I will remember my promise to you and every living animal. Never again will water become a flood to destroy all life. 16. Whenever the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember my everlasting promise to every living animal on earth. 17. So Yahuah said to Noah, this is the sign of the promise I am making to all life on earth. Noah curses Canaan, but blesses Shem and Japheth. 18. Noah's sons who came out of the ship were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Verse 19. These were Noah's 3 sons. From them, the whole earth was populated. Ham was the father of Canaan. By 20. Noah, a farmer, was the first person to plant a vineyard. 21. He drank some wine, got drunk, and lay naked inside his tent. 22. Ham, father of Canaan, saw his father naked. So he went outside and told his 2 brothers. 23. Shem and Japheth took a blanket and laid it over their shoulders. Then they walked in backward and covered their father's naked body. They turned their faces away so that they didn't see their father naked. 24. When Noah sobered up, he found out what his youngest son had done to him. 25. So he said, Canaan is cursed. He will be the lowest slave to his brothers. Verse 26. Praise Yahuah, the Elohim of Shem. Canaan will be his slave. 27. May Elohim expand the territory of Japheth. May he live in the tents of Shem. Canaan will be his slave. 28. Noah lived 350 years after the flood. 29. Noah lived a total of 950 years, then he died. Genesis chapter 10 verse 1. This is the account of Noah's sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their descendants. Shem, Ham, and Japheth had children after the flood. 2. Japheth's descendants were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. 3. Gomer's descendants were Ashkenaz, Ripath, and Togarma. 4. Javan's descendants were the people from Elisha, Tarshish, Cyprus, and Rhodes. 5. From these descendants, the people of the coastlands spread into their own countries. Each nation had its own language and families. The 30 descendants of Ham. 6. Ham's descendants were Cush, Egypt, Put, and Canaan. 7. Cush's descendants were Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Rama, and Sabteka. Rama's descendants were Sheba and Dedan. 8. Cush was the father of Nimrod, the first mighty warrior on the earth. 9. He was a mighty hunter, whom Yahuah blessed. That's why people used to say, he's like Nimrod, a mighty hunter, whom Yahuah blessed. 10. The first cities in his kingdom were Babylon, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh, in Shinar, Babylonia. 11. He went from that land to Assyria and built Nineveh, Rehoboth-ir, Calah, 12, and Rezen, the great city between Nineveh and Calah. 3. Egypt was the ancestor of the Ludites, Anamites, Lehabites, Naphtuhites, 14 Pathrusites, Casluhites, from whom the Philistines came, and the Caphtorites. 15. Canaan was the father of Sidon, his firstborn, then Heth. 16. Also the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgashites. 17. The Hivites, the Archites, the Sinites. 18. The Arvadites, the Zemarites, and the Hamathites. Later, the Canaanite families scattered. 19. The border of the Canaanites extended from Sidon toward Gerar, as far as Gaza, and then toward Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboyim, as far as Lasha. 20. These were Ham's descendants by families and languages within their countries and nations, the 26 descendants of Shem. 21. Shem, Japheth's older brother, also had children. Shem was the ancestor of all the sons of Eber. 22. Shem's descendants were Elam, Ashur, Arpachshad, Lud, and Aram. 23. Aram's descendants were Uz, Hul, Gether, and Mash. 24. Arpachshad was the father of Shelah, and Shelah was the father of Eber. 25. 2 sons were born to Eber. The name of the one was Peleg, division, because in his day the earth was divided. His brother's name was Joktan. 26. Joktan was the father of Almodad, Shelef, Hazarmaveth, Jerah. 27. Hadoram, Uzal, Diklah. 28. Obal, Abimael, Sheba. 29. Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. These were Joktan's sons. 30. The region where they lived extended from Mesha toward Sephar in the eastern mountains. 31. These were Shem's descendants by families and languages within their countries according to their nations. 32. These were the families of Noah's sons listed by their genealogies, nation by nation. From these descendants, the nations spread over the earth after the flood.